All right, let's dive straight into today's explainer of the historical accounts. We're tearing open a 400-year-old cold case to explore one of the absolute most gripping mysteries in American history. We are going to figure out how, and more importantly, why, an entire community, the lost colony of Roanoke, vanished so suddenly and completely.
So, set the scene in your mind. It's 1590. A resupply ship finally arrives at an island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The crew steps ashore, right? They're totally expecting to find a bustling settlement of over 100 English men, women, and children. But instead, they step into absolute silence. The settlement is completely empty. There are no bodies, no signs of a battle, no scorched earth, no scattered weapons anywhere. Over 100 people suddenly gone without a single trace.
I mean, it literally sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? Where did they go? And honestly, what could have possibly triggered them to vanish so suddenly? Let's sift through the clues together and see if we can piece this whole thing together.
Okay, Section 1. The context. Why were they left alone in the first place?
Well, you have to understand, this wasn't just some casual expedition. The stakes here were incredibly high. Sponsored by Sir Walter Raleigh and led by Governor John White, this 1587 group was England's second attempt at establishing a permanent settlement in the Americas. Their first try back in 1585, it had already failed miserably and had to be abandoned. They absolutely had to make this one work.
But things went sideways fast. Shortly after the 1587 group arrived, Governor White realized they were incredibly short on supplies. He had to sail back to England to get them. But then, global politics literally got in the way. War broke out between England and Spain, the massive buildup to the Spanish Armada. Every single available English ship was requisitioned for naval defense. So White was trapped in England until 1590. That gave the colony 3 long, totally isolated years to experience whatever event forced their sudden, unexplained disappearance.
And the human stakes here were just devastating. When John White left for supplies, he left behind his own daughter, Eleanor, and his infant granddaughter, Virginia Dare. Virginia was actually the very first English child born in the Americas. Just imagine the agonizing 3-year wait White endured, only to finally return to a completely empty island.
Which brings us to Section 2, the crime scene, and what White actually found. Now, the oddities here are really fascinating. If you assume a sudden violent attack wiped them out, well, the physical evidence completely contradicts you. The houses weren't destroyed or burned, they were actually dismantled in a highly orderly way. There was absolutely no sign of a struggle, no fire, zero violence. Even their belongings had been carefully removed. It points heavily toward a planned departure, yet the absolute lack of a trail leaves the whole thing feeling terrifyingly sudden.
But amidst the empty settlement, White did find one single, infamous clue. Carved straight into a wooden fence post was this exact word, CROATOAN. White also noted that the letters CRO were carved into a nearby tree, which he figured was probably just an unfinished version of the same word.
So what does this clue actually mean? Well, CROATOAN was 2 things. It was the name of a nearby island, and it was the name of a Native American tribe, the CROATOAN people, who were already allied with the English settlers. This was a huge turning point for White's investigation.
See, before White left for England, he'd established this brilliant emergency protocol with the colonists. If they needed to relocate for any reason, they were supposed to carve their destination into a tree or post. But if they were forced to leave under distress or attack, they were instructed to add a Maltese cross symbol to the carving.
And yet, no cross was found. None. Imagine the massive rush of relief White must have felt in that terrible moment. The total lack of a Maltese cross strongly suggested that this sudden relocation happened peacefully and deliberately. No attack had forced them out.
So he had a lead. He knew exactly where to go. But history is just full of tragic twists of fate, isn't it? White prepares his ships to sail down to CROATOAN Island to find his family. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a severe storm hits, violently damaging his ship's anchor cables. The damage is so bad that they are literally forced to abandon the search to save the ships and sail all the way back to England. White never returned to search again. He died a few years later, never knowing what happened to his daughter, his granddaughter, or his colony. The door to the mystery just slammed shut.
Let's move into Section 3, the investigation and the 4 leading theories.
So, investigators are working with 4 main theories today to explain the sudden vanishing. First up, assimilation. This suggests the settlers peacefully integrated into the CROATOAN or other local native communities just to survive. Second is inland conflict. meaning they moved inland and eventually clashed with a rival tribe or maybe even Spanish forces moving up from Florida. Third is disease or weather, the very real possibility that they were wiped out by illness, starvation, or a massive hurricane. And finally, dispersal, the idea that survival required this large group to split into smaller factions rather than staying together.
But the case isn't closed. Far from it. Modern archaeologists are absolutely not giving up. Digs are currently happening right now on Hatteras Island, which is widely believed to be the historical CROATOAN island. Groups like the CROATOAN Archaeological Society and the First Colony Foundation are out there today, literally digging through the dirt for the truth.
And the evidence they're pulling out of the ground is incredibly compelling. In the exact same layers of soil, they are finding English artifacts, things like a signet ring, gun parts, and ceramics, mixed directly with Native American artifacts. It's like finding puzzle pieces that finally fit together, providing incredibly strong physical support for the assimilation theory. Plus, this is totally backed up by later reports from English explorers who noted seeing native individuals with gray eyes who actually claimed to have European ancestry. All of this heavily suggests that at least some of the colonists were survived by merging with the native tribes.
Which leads us to Section 4, the verdict on this unsolved American mystery.
The chilling reality is that more than 400 years later, we do not have a single body. We do not have a single grave. Despite all the digs, all the tech, and all the historical research, nothing recovered so far definitively proves what caused the sudden vanishing of this entire group. We still don't have a single confirmed answer. It remains one of the first and absolutely greatest unsolved mysteries in American history.
And that brings us to the end of our investigation, which means I'm turning the spotlight over to you. You've seen the timeline, the strange condition of the abandoned settlement, that cryptic carving on the post, and the artifacts hidden in the dirt. Based on the historical evidence we've just unpacked together, what do you think really caused the lost colony to suddenly vanish?